I now call Michelle Ballantyne to speak to and move Amendment 14406. 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and I move the amendment in my name. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to open for my party in this important debate on ending poverty and inequality. George Bernard Shaw said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. If the speakers from the other benches aim today to paint the UK government and these benches as unreasonable, it probably underpins for me their unwillingness or inability to address the real drivers of poverty and inequality with the sincerity and intellectual rigour that the subject deserves. Looking at the motion submitted by Labour and the subsequent SNP amendment, one could be forgiven for thinking poverty and inequality began with the election of a Lib Dem Conservative coalition and that universal credit was devised simply to attack and punish people. In Elaine Smith's opening speech for Labour, there was no reference for the reasons universal credit was introduced and the catastrophic failure of the legacy welfare system under Labour, which showed no interest in improving our people's life chances. Tax credits have been hailed as the panacea by the Labour benches for the poor. But in reality, 250,000 people never received the tax credits they were eligible for. Take the intervention.
Neil Findlay.
To have an intervention on an intellectual giant such as yourself. Could I ask the member, has she had any representation from people in her constituency telling them about the outrageous situation they find themselves in with universal credit? Has she?
Michelle Ballantyne.
Or does she care?
Yes, but not nearly as many as you refer to, and those that I have had, I've been able to resolve. Exactly. There was no human point of contact to talk to if you had issues with tax credits, and worst of all, many people who progressed their situation and earnings then found themselves with demands to repay large chunks of the money they had been given. Hundreds of thousands of people have been driven into debt under the legacy systems, and it has meant that 60% of those coming onto universal credit are carrying that debt with them onto the new system. Labour allowed debt to spiral, both for the individual and the government, and the cost to families across the UK was a contribution that rose by nearly £3,000 a year. Labour also paid out without due diligence, opening the system to fraud, and the cost of that fraud was estimated at between 11 and 20 billion. And worse still, it was hidden in the UK Treasury budget, where it was not subject to audit. So, actually, I am proud to be associated with a welfare change that is genuinely designed to tackle poverty and inequality. Yep.
Beg your pardon. Sorry, Cabinet Secretary.
I just wondered if the member says she was proud of welfare reforms. I wonder if she's proud of the two-child limit and whether she's proud of the rape clause.
Michelle Ballantyne.
The two-child limit is about fairness. It is fair that people on benefit cannot have as many children as they like, while people who work and pay their way and don't claim benefits have to make decisions about the number of children they can have. Fairness is fairness to everybody, not to one part of the community. Yeah. Well, universal credit...
Sorry. Mr Findlay, I'd like to hear what the member has to say. Whether you agree with it or not, it's to be heard.
Universal credit may have its flaws, but the thinking behind the system is sound, a point that has been reiterated by all those who have given evidence to this Parliament. Governments cannot address poverty and inequality without improving people's life chances. It is about making it better to be in work than not to be in work. Universal credit is an evolving benefit, and the rollout was implemented to allow issues to be explored and addressed. By its very nature, it is flexible, with the ability to adapt. The rollout process is designed to allow checks to take place to assess if issues are policy issues or operational, and to date they have almost wholly been operational. This means that the flaws that are there can be fixed, something that would have been difficult under the legacy benefit system with its Byzantine processes and incomprehensible regulations. It was an important feature of UC design that a universal support system that would support the more vulnerable claimants was in place. And that is exactly what we have seen in recent weeks with the allocation of the £39 million to Citizen Advice to provide support with the rollout of UC. showing that the DWP recognise operational difficulties and have the confidence to address them. Regardless of what others may say, it is a fact that universal credit is working for the many, as are many UK government employment policies. Since 2010, youth unemployment has fallen by more than 50%. 1.1 million Britons are back in work. The number of children in workless homes has plummeted by 637,000, and the UK has reached a record employment rate of 75.7%, with a female employment rate of 71.3%. Yeah. All of these during one of the worst recessions of all time, and at a lower price than Labour could achieve even when the sun was shining. That's why universal credit is a key part of reducing inequality in this country, and why I will continue to lend my support to it, as should every member in this chamber. Yeah. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much.